Well, the Nashville Predators have only had one practice this training camp, but we're already seeing a big theme forming under new coach Andrew Brunette, plus possible hints at the lineups going into the first preseason game. And one of the offseason's most controversial additions makes a big debut early. All coming up on the Locked On Predators podcast.
You're Locked On Predators, your daily podcast on the Nashville Predators. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thank you for making the Locked On Predators podcast your first listen of the day every single day. Appreciate you joining us, folks. We are your free daily Nashville Predators podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. As always, want to start with a special how do you do to our loyal Locked On Pred heads out there, the everydayers who tune into every single show. We love you guys. We appreciate the support you give us week in, week out. I'm Nick Morgan. I'm a writer at Penalty Box Radio, and I have a partner in crime.
You do. I'm Ann Kimmel. I'm a writer at the Hockey News.
All right. Also want to mention today's episode brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook, official sportsbook of Locked On. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. Visit FanDuel.com/LockedOn to learn more and get started. And training camp is officially open, the practice version of it.
Yes.
And big news from training camp for you in terms of a couple of loyal Locked On Pred heads that you ran into yesterday.
I did. I want to give a special shout out, if I can, to Jen and Hannah, who were at the first public open on ice practice for the Nashville Predators training camp in 23-24. So fun to get to talk to them. And we kind of chatted about what we were seeing on the ice, made our little speculations and stuff. So shout out to Jen and Hannah. And thank you for listening, but also thanks for hanging out and saying hello. So it was super fun to talk to them.
Yeah, you guys don't know what it means to Ann, who had to get through 3 practice sessions.
I was so hungry, y'all.
That's the big takeaway for the first day of camp was Ann needs to have more snacks.
Double the snack pocket, y'all. Double the snack pocket, because by the end, Mama was a little bit hangry.
Yeah. The second biggest takeaway in camp was that, the Nashville Predators under Andrew Brunette, boy, you could see the impact of that coaching change early, Ann.
Yes, I'm telling you, this was a very different training camp. And don't extrapolate any sort of negativity from that as I say this about any previous head coaches. But I will tell you, this on ice, what was going on ice, very different, y'all. When Andrew Brunette comes in and says that his system is a fast system, they want to play north-south, they want to get the puck, they want puck possession, they want to move up the ice quickly. Y'all, he is not joking. This was a fast-paced practice for all 3 groups. It really was a different on ice pace, very different on ice pace, very exciting to watch.
Yeah, so we got media from a lot of different players, Roman Josi, Philip Forsberg, Cody Glass, Luke Schenn, a couple of others, and the 2 words
yes,
I think I heard most from every single person. There's 2 that I talked about. The word fast.
Yep.
And the word fun. And boy, doesn't that just give you a sense that these Nashville Predators, even some of those that look like maybe they took a step back last year, doesn't that just give you a sign that, they are rejuvenated heading into this regular season?
Yeah. And what was super interesting to me in talking to, like you said, we had a ton of players. We had veterans like Jose Forsberg. We had McDonough. We had, the new guys, O'Reilly, and we had Luke Schenn, who we're going to talk about in a little bit. And then we had some of the younger players. We had Luke Evangelista and Tomasino. We got to talk to Cody Glass. Across the board, regardless of experience in the NHL, regardless of position. Even the D-men were like, this is fun.
Yeah.
It was so startling to me because I will tell you, in watching that first practice, the initial group playing, I'm like, okay, this is kind of fun to watch. But across the board, the way these players describe this style of play is fast and fun. And look, there's nothing wrong with having players talk about it being fun. I don't know that we've heard a lot of that before. There's a lot of excitement around what Andrew Brunette is trying to do with this team and this new direction on the ice. It was cool to see Philip Forsberg say, this is fun. It was cool to see, all of these young players' eyes lighting up. Kaylin Lind, yeah, this is fun. Like, they're liking what they're doing. They're enjoying it, y'all. Mm-hmm. They're enjoying what the taste that they're getting.
Yeah, and it seems like, again, not to harp on too many, but it seems like, the past couple coaches are very system oriented. Like, this is the way we're going to play. Like, this is, how players fit into what we want to do, which, is fine under certain circumstances. But it feels like when you take off the reins a little bit and just let players kind of play, like just sort of like all out, like that, like, I guess, like, the closest I could think of would be like pick up basketball rules.
Yes.
But for hockey, like, you see the difference. And I know one of the players that you talked to yesterday was Phil Tomasino. And, that's kind of what he described was just Andrew Brunette's system being super fun. Let's listen to what Phil Tomasino had to say about Andrew Brunette's style of play.
Lots of fun, that's for sure. Lots of playing with the puck, I think. Possession is a big thing for us, and we have a lot of skilled players on our team, and I think if you have the puck more, you have a better chance of obviously scoring more and winning the game. So that's kind of been his main message through day one today. So I think it's going to be a lot of fun to play, and I think everyone's really excited for it, and especially me, I think it's going to be a great opportunity for sure.
Fun.
That answer was fun.
It was fun. Phil Tomasino is fun in and of himself. He's a super fun guy to talk to, but the enthusiasm level that we saw as we asked these players about, like, what are you seeing? And remember, they're just getting a glimpse. This is just the dipping the toe in the water of this system that Andrew Brunette is going to implement. He really hasn't been able to yet in one on-ice practice or in the little bit that he's worked with the group, prior to training camp. He really hasn't implemented everything from his system. But the main message, the main thing that he wants this team to do is play fast, puck possession, get that puck up the ice. And these players are loving it.
Yeah. And I think the big thing that fired everybody else up when we heard that was we want to play with the puck. We want to be aggressive at getting the puck because, that wasn't the style we played with the past couple of years.
Yeah.
Where it seemed more of, kind of like counterattack and stuff like that. So, I mean, it certainly seems like a lot of players maybe thriving for kind of a new style of play. And it's very interesting, to kind of see how everybody, performs in that too, because you got some guys like Philip Forsberg who are going to be inching to be on the front foot. Like, that was always Philip Forsberg's best years, was when the Jofa line back in the day had the puck, when they were pressuring, when they were in the offensive zone. When they were doing that, that is when all of these, top Predators players had their best seasons. So, for me, the big question at Ann is, maybe even though talent level not quite where it was, during the President's Trophy seasons or those back-to-back Central Division titles of the Cup run, maybe that's not where it is then. But boy, like, can't some of these top players be refreshed enough to maybe go out and play like they were back then when they were putting up all these big seasons?
Yeah. In watching Philip Forsberg, and we're going to talk about kind of who he was paired with and what we thought about that. But in watching Philip Forsberg, I thought, well, hello there, 42 goal Philip Forsberg. How are you?
Yeah. I mean,
day one of practice, y'all. I understand it's only day one of practice, but such a different vibe. Such a different vibe.
yeah, absolutely. You kind of mentioned that we've got some hints as to which players are going to be paired with who. Some things maybe seemed a little bit obvious at the end of the day. A couple of moves maybe raising a couple of eyebrows, but not necessarily in a bad way. We're going to talk about that in just a second, but first, want to mention today's episode brought to you by Birddogs. Take it from me. These are going to be the most comfortable pair of shorts you have ever worn in your life. I was skeptical about it. I saw like bird dog ads from influencers and stuff like that. I thought, oh, they are just, a fancy pair of pants. Then I actually got a pair and I saw firsthand what all the fuss was about. The thing I like about bird dogs is I can wear them anywhere. The bird dog stretch khaki shorts are designed to fit slimmer through the thigh and give you a sculpted look. So they're fancy enough. They look like khaki shorts that you can wear them out on a fancy date night or going to work meetings or anything like that. But they're also made with a cloud knit fabric that stretches, so you get a way slimmer fit, and they have anti-stink sweat wicking fabric that keeps you cool and dry all day long. So they are comfortable enough to wear pretty much, on the golf course, playing pickleball, or just lounging around your couch. There's literally any occasion that is perfect for bird dogs. So try it yourself. Go to birddogs.com/LockedOnNHL and enter promo code LockedOnNHL at checkout for a free Bird Dogs water bottle with your order. Again, birddogs.com/LockedOnNHL for a free water bottle at checkout. You won't want to take your bird dogs off. We promise you. All right, Ann, we are talking about the Preds training camp. First practice now officially underway. And one of the big question marks that you and I had, and I think that pretty much everybody had going in, was what were the line combinations going to be? What was Andrew Brunette going to do with some of, the talent that he has there? And a couple of clues early in camp. So Ryan O'Reilly with Philip Forsberg, that seemed to kind of be the main the main top pairing. Which we kind of speculated that maybe we do somebody else up front and add that to depth, but that's certainly not really a surprise, I would think. We had what looked like Juuso Parssinen and or Tommy Novak kind of handling those second line duties, both of whom looked pretty good yesterday. And we have Cody Glass with Gustav Nyquist, and you loved that pairing the other day.
I loved this pairing. First of all, Cody Glass has come into camp really with tons of energy. I think he feels like he's coming into this training camp very differently than he came into the last training camp, where his goal was like, I just want to make the team, and I think he's in a very different place after that late season run that these young players had and all the experience they gained and being up in Nashville for so long. But Glass and Nyquist and Garionov quite often were kind of running drills together, and Glass and Nyquist was really a fun combination to watch. Now, I will say that O'Reilly and Forsberg were in one group, Glass and Nyquist were in another group. So it's not like you could totally cross-pollinate and swap O'Reilly and Glass and this kind of thing. But I think that it was probably pretty intentional. And first impressions, straight first impressions, just saw their picture on Tinder. And I loved this Glass Nyquist combination. And again, Cody Glass looked fantastic. And one of the things that he worked on this summer, he talked about working on speed, but he also talked about working on strength. And he spent a lot of time in the drills net front, where he was really able to own that space physically he had a couple of tip-in goals that were so chef's kiss, like it almost brought a tear to my eye.
Yeah.
But Nyquist and Glass together, I think there's something really interesting about that combination that intrigues me and makes me say, okay, you know what? I know it's early, but maybe, just maybe, there's something here.
Well, those two, I think, pair very well together because,
Mhm.
we talked about Cody Glass last year kind of becoming, a really good sort of two-way player and defensively responsible. And we were just talking, about like the confidence comments, and he was going head to head against other teams' top lines. I mean, Connor
Yeah,
McDavid's worst game against the Predators last season was when Cody Glass was paired against him, and he held his own. And then you have Gustav Nyquist, who's fast. Like the
right.
dude is fast. The dude is Lightning McQueen.
He is.
When you can just see him skating and go, "I am speed, ka-chow." Like you can absolutely
In Swedish.
see,
In
yeah,
Swedish.
in Swedish. I'm not going to do that accent, but that's sort of the vibe from Gustav Nyquist, but he does not have the best track record when it comes to defense. So that's a perfect pairing because Nyquist's speed can open things up for Cody Glass, who has such good hands, like has good vision. We talked about him having like some seeing eye passes at times last year. So that's a combo that can work really well together. Those two, you mentioned Guryanov was with him. I don't know if that's just because that's how like the practice group
Right.
shook out, but that's intriguing, like on that far line, because that's a power forward who has had some 20-goal seasons before. I also wouldn't rule out maybe Yakov Trenin as somebody that would be a good complement to that line as well.
Yeah. And Cody Glass talked a little bit about playing with Gus Nyquist, and he was saying, in the summer skates, they have kind of worked together. So they've already started building some chemistry, and it's really very obvious. Like they're reading each other well in these drills. But also, Cody Glass said one of the things he likes about working with Nyquist is Nyquist's speed. Because Glass is like, I got to keep up. If I can keep up with him, he really pushes me to play a faster game, to really skate with some speed. And if I can keep up with him, I think we might have some chemistry. And again, it was a first date, y'all. But I really do think keep your eye on Nyquist and Glass. I think there's definitely something there.
Yeah. The way it shook out, because according to our friend Alex Doherty, it looked like there's going to be kind of maybe a Novak Parssinen, either a battle for the number 2 spot or like number 2 center spot, or those were going to be like a pairing on that second line. I would imagine that this should give you a pretty good indication, especially with Glass being with Nyquist, that we're going to do what we talked about, kind of what we were speculating this past offseason was Andrew Brunette was going to roll out maybe like 3 even lines. Like clearly O'Reilly and Forsberg, like those are going to be your top dogs.
Yeah.
But it does look like we're going back to, okay, like, I don't think you could do a number 2 or number 3 indication on Novak Parssinen or Glass Nyquist. Like it seems like you're just going to be like, maybe this is 2A, this is 2B. These are 2 kind of secondary lines that we can roll out in a lot of different situations.
Yeah. And one of the things that I want to highlight, as we're talking about what we think the lines are going to be, and one of the main messages that Andrew Brunette gave to the team, that Barry Trotz gave to the team, and that the team received, I want to be clear, the team received the message, is, they use the term clean slate. Everybody's got a clean slate. That's something that Bruno talked about yesterday. I want to just play the clip for you real quick. This is what he had to say about his message to the team going into this first day of training camp on ice.
Yeah, I think coming in and the message to the group, this is a clean slate for everybody. The past is the past. And, we've got guys who've been here for a while and they've been slotted in certain roles. I believe anybody is going to earn their role. I'm going to kind of watch and experiment, which is fun, but I don't want to have any preconceived notions of what they can't do. I kind of want to see what they can do and put them in the best positions to succeed.
I love that. And all of the players really embrace that. Philip Forsberg said, look, it's a clean slate. I've got to prove some things. Roman Josi said that. And you and I kind of joke about like, these are your sure things. And look, Andrew Brunette's not going to bench Roman Josi, y'all. No. These are things we know for sure. But everybody is embracing that message. And what you're ending up seeing across the board from the Cody Glasses, from these new veterans like Gus Nyquist, Ryan O'Reilly, from the old core, Josi, Forsberg, you are seeing guys embrace that and go out there and really say, I'm going to prove it. You know, Ryan McDonough made a comment that I thought was so interesting and really kind of summed up the best way for me, kind of how I felt like the vibe was. And he said, everybody's pulling the rope in the same direction. Mm-hmm. Everybody got that message, and everybody in that first practice. And again, I know it's the first practice, but everybody is really embracing what Andrew Brunette's put before them and pulling the rope in the same direction. So it's very exciting first day of practice, y'all.
Yeah. That's kind of telling a little bit as well. One of the big additions this offseason, as we mentioned earlier, was Luke Schenn. That is one that I think drew some ire through a couple of people in the fan base, but his debut looked pretty solid, and we're going to talk about that in just 1 second. But first, I want to remind everybody, Locked On Predators is your free daily Nashville Predators podcast. You can find us wherever you get your podcasts: YouTube, Spotify, Apple, Amazon Music. Definitely, whatever platform you're listening on us or listening to us on, be sure you hit that subscribe button. That way you'll always know when we have new stuff out for you. Also, quick announcement, we are now on Instagram. Yay! Look for us at Locked On Predators. We already got some good stuff, shots from training camp, some clips from episodes. We're going to have some sound with some of the players and coaches. And also maybe some behind the scenes exclusive stuff from Locked On Preds that doesn't necessarily make the air.
Oh, there's plenty of that, y'all.
There's plenty of that. So make sure you follow us on Instagram, Locked On Predators. You can also follow us on Facebook, same name as well, or on Twitter X at LO_Predators. All right, and one of the big additions this offseason, one of the very first ones, I should say, was Luke Schenn. This was a guy who came in. I think a lot of people sort of rolled their eyes, and it's like, oh, here goes the big bulking defenseman equals good, rah, 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 sort of sarcastic,
right?
Butt from players. Or fans of the team. And Luke Schenn's first practice with the Nashville Predators, you said you were very impressed.
I was actually so impressed. This was our first time to talk to Luke Schenn, and the first time that the media as a whole has kind of gotten a chance to interact with him. Couple of things of note about Luke Schenn. First of all, Luke Schenn is ginormous. It's not necessarily a height thing. He is I can't use the term probably that I want to use to describe him, but it's he's built like a brick poop house, y'all. He is a solid hockey player right there. And he actually was late coming up to the media availability because he was in the gym. And that does not surprise me after seeing Luke Schenn on the ice. First impressions of Luke Schenn, did some drills with Roman Josi, so definitely something to keep in mind. We've kind of wondered, where is he going to slot in? Just that's where things kind of landed in the first practice. We'll keep an eye on that. Luke Schenn absolutely launched. And I don't want you to think I mean knocked over. I want you to understand me when I say Luke Schenn launched one of the younger Milwaukee Admirals players who we're just going to let him remain nameless because he doesn't need that kind of grief. He lived it the first time. Launched this young child in one of the drills. And you could have counted hang time on it. Now, I will say this, like, it wasn't like a careless thing. It was, it was a hockey play. It wasn't him just, doing that. But Luke Schenn is so strong. Mm-hmm. nobody will look sideways at Roman Josi after one hit from Luke Schenn. But also, look, I know that he's an older guy. And yes, people talk about, the Predators, they've got to have that big guy. Luke Schenn actually brings a lot to the ice. So I was super impressed with him. I was a little bit horrified because I'm pretty sure this particular player saw dead people.
Yeah.
After taking it.
Let's not injure our own Milwaukee.
Yeah, and here's what's real. Luke Schenn was like, hey man, are you okay? Like, he checked on him. He was okay. Luke Schenn is a very interesting addition. And remember, last season we really didn't have that, when Mark Borowiecki went down so early. The Nashville Predators kind of lost that just physical, you're not going to touch my guy kind of player. Day one of practice, look, I'm not saying anything bad about Roman Josi in Luke Schenn's earshot. Really interesting. Older guy, but look, y'all, these older players, people kind of said, oh, the Nashville Predators brought in these older players. Look, they came ready to play. They are ready to play.
Yeah, you also mentioned that he scored a pretty good goal on UC Saros as well.
He did.
Yes, and here's the thing with Luke Schenn, because I think a lot of people, when they think of Luke Schenn, it's the guy that, spent the bulk of, 2019 through 2021 in the minors.
Yeah.
The guy who is just sort of like a seventh defenseman for the Tampa Bay Lightning during their cup run, and the guy that went to Vancouver and, was sort of like, oh, like Luke Schenn's your number one guy, really? Lost in that is that he has done very, very well the past couple of years in a lot of different areas. Of course, we always talk about him playing very well alongside Quinn Hughes and Morgan Riley, kind of look like he's a good complement to them. Also sort of lost in all this, Anne, is that last season, maybe this is, definitely a byproduct of playing with Quinn Hughes, but he tied his career high in points.
Yeah.
22 points, the most he's had since 2012. And, I think he had, looking at this, he had 18 assists last year. I think 13 of those were primary assists. So it's not like, he's just, sort of a log skating around out there collecting points because he's on the ice with good players. Like, he's stepping in and holding his own with, alongside some of the top, people in other teams' organizations. And that's big because that gives the Nashville Predators somebody that you can put with Roman Josi and Philip Forsberg and Ryan O'Reilly and not have to worry about them looking a step behind everybody.
Yes.
Somebody that can kind of step up.
Yes. And I will say this across the board when talking about Ryan O'Reilly, Gus Nyquist, Luke Schenn, these older veterans that, people were like, I thought this was a youth movement. These older veterans don't look like older veterans. They look like veterans. So, don't look at their age as a number that may be a detriment. What we saw from them yesterday, and again, I get it, it's day one, we're going to keep an eye on it, but what we saw yesterday, these are not players that are playing a step behind.
Yeah. We are definitely going to keep a close eye on a lot of these players in camp. I know Luke Schenn is an addition a lot of people were kind of on the fence about, but looked pretty good early on. And I know you are getting ready to head out to training camp for day 2. We've already heard maybe they're going to shuffle around some of the players in these groups. So maybe we get some different looks today, but definitely tune in on Monday because we not only have a preseason game to talk about, but we'll have a bunch of content from the first few days of Nashville Predators camp. So stay tuned to that. And where can people find your work?
You can find my work online at InsideThePreds.com. You can find me on Twitter X, whatever, at AnnK_Mama on Ice.
You can find me on Twitter X. I kind of like that. I kind of like
I can't go with just straight X. It makes me feel uncomfortable.
Yeah. Rolls off the tip of the tongue. You can find me there at _NS Morgan or read my work at penaltyboxradio.com. That's going to do it for us on today's Locked On Predators podcast. Thanks for making us your first listen of the day. We will be back Monday with all new episodes. We'll see you then.